I don't know if I've told you this story before. I've been looking around my YouTube channel and I can't find this story. If I already have told you this story before, sorry for repeating myself. Anyway, this story is about my experience back when I was mainstreamed in school. Back then, I used the oral method and didn't sign. I didn't have an interpreter because I didn't know how to sign. I was the only deaf person in my whole school. I learned by sitting in the very front of the class and reading the teacher's lips. Looking back, how did I do that? I can't picture it now. But I did. I survived. But does mainstreaming really fit deaf people? Here's one example. At this school, it was a middle school. For PE, you had to change your clothes into your uniform. You know, the special shirt and shorts you had to change every day. Now, if you didn't change your clothes, you couldn't participate in PE. And if you didn't participate, then it would be put on your record. And if you didn't change for PE like 3 or 4 times in one semester, you would have to go to detention hall. That was their rule. Now, you gotta understand, I was not athletic, I didn't like going to PE. So, time to time, I would just forget to change into my PE clothes. I didn't want to. Now, I knew it would count against me, of course. But one day, the teacher said I hit the limit for skipping out on PE. And I had to go to detention hall. Like, okay, fine. Accepted it. She gave me the slip for detention hall with all of the information that, like, when to show up, where it was, things like that. That day, I sat in class, homeroom class. It was like the last period of the day. Sat in class and just waited around. When school was done, the bell rang and I walked out to go down to detention. And I walked in, sat down. I was the only one there. The rest of the room was empty. Thought maybe the other ones will show up late. Sat around. Nobody. A teacher, an advisor, students, nobody showed up. I was the only one. I was like, there's no way I can be the only student in the whole school to have detention hall. I waited and waited and waited, waited. And finally, after about 15 or 20 minutes, and still nothing, I decided to go to the office. It was right across the hall. I walked in and I go to the secretary and asked why there was no detention hall. Well, apparently, my homeroom teacher was getting his mail and stuff in the office, and he told me that detention hall, it had been canceled for that day. I told him I didn't know about it, and he said, oh, it was announced on the loudspeaker that it was canceled. And I asked him, why didn't you tell me? He said, you never got detention hall, so I didn't think you needed to know. I'm just like, alright, fine. Guess I'll go home. I'll walk home. My house was about a quarter mile from the school, so that wasn't a big deal. But the school staff said I wasn't allowed to walk. It was against policy for me to walk home. So what can I do? The bus had left. My teacher said, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll drive you." I was like, "Okay, fine." Now my teacher said that he had to finish his work, and it wouldn't be for another hour. I sat around and waited in the office, all by myself, while I waited for my teacher to get done with his work to take me home. But the same idea as being in detention hall. It was exactly the same. There was nothing going on. I was bored out of my mind. So finally the teacher drove me home, and then the next day I was told I had to go to detention hall. I told them I already sat around. I did my time waiting and sitting there. And I did nothing. My teacher said, I said my teacher should have told me that detention hall was canceled. But they refused what I had said. I was so frustrated. Looking back, I should have fought it and just refused it, since I'd basically already done my time for detention hall, plus some more. But back then, I thought I had to follow what all the hearing people always said. I thought they were always right. So, it's clear that mainstreaming is not a perfect fit for deaf people. It doesn't fit deaf people's needs. They just don't understand what type of things that we need.